Facebook has experienced one of the worst outages in its history, leaving millions of users around the world unable to access its platforms. That outage, of course, included Instagram, WhatsApp, Messenger, from 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon to 11 o'clock last night. Here in the UK, the sites became inaccessible for large numbers of people. The outage has highlighted the widespread global dependency on Facebook and begs the question, are we too reliant on these platforms?
And we're joined by Ray Radford, a social media consultant who thinks that we are far too reliant, and also influencer Talia Storm, who says social media is her life and we need to evolve with the times.
What did you do last night then, Talia?
Oh my goodness, don't you worry. I was getting my content ready for when it was back online. You know, social media is that 24/7 office. We had a little break, but we're back.
But tell us about what it means financially for somebody. You know, we joke about social media influencers. Actually, it's big business for some people, isn't it? You know, what does it mean in terms of a small business or a financial hit when such a massive social media company goes offline?
Yeah, I mean, it was huge. You know, I'm at work 24/7 because of the access I have to the world and because of my business that I've created online. So, yes, you know, we had a little outage, but I think the pros of social media far outweigh the cons. You know, I think, if anything, people are underusing social media. You know, the people, connections and the contacts you can reach from the power of one click. And I think this anxiety that the internet is going to ruin real human interaction is just reminiscent of parents. Even in the 50s, you know, we evolved. People are scared of the unknown. I get that. But I think now is the time that we can really utilise the tools we have in our fingertips. You know, I'm from a tiny village in Scotland. If you told me I would be having 500,000 on TikTok, you know, 500,000 on Instagram, just from the power of being on it 24/7, I probably wouldn't believe you. So you really can create your entire destiny from being on it and being with the times. So I think it's an incredible tool. I use it every single day. I love it. I'm able to build a fan base, express myself, and I make my entire income from social media.
And Ray, you do not agree with that. You're busy deleting all your apps and you think the whole thing has become a huge problem for society.
Well, like Talia, I have made my money from social media, but it does completely take over your life. So when I'm 60, I have decided I'm going to completely delete everything because I check my phone morning, noon, even in the night.
Why are you waiting till you're 60, Ray?
It's 2 decades.
I'm waiting till I'm 60 because it's going to be my 60th birthday present to myself. I'm massive on Twitter and I love Twitter, but there's a downside, and I'm sure you two will know, being trolled isn't pleasant. It's not nice. And yes, I've met some amazing people from it, but by the time I reach 60, I will have been on social media for nearly 10 years.
And when is that? Sorry to ask, because you know, it's very rude to ask somebody's age, but as you've mentioned it, when is this deadline?
Next July.
OK. And in the meantime, how many hours a day do you think you'll be spending on the social media platforms?
I've really cut back.
Right.
I've had to really have a word with myself because, like Talia, it's morning, noon and night. It's too much. Yeah. You need a balance. Well, and that's what my worry is.
Do you know what, Talia? This is an issue that has made its way to the Senate over in the States, and they've been holding hearings about the effect of social media, particularly on children. They've been grilling the company about Instagram's effect on teenagers. There was this internal information about how services hurt young people and not significantly changing those services to reduce the downside. There are, you know, calls for regulations to rein in Facebook and other social media platforms. There is a negative effect, isn't it? Particularly this idea of compare and despair. You have a look at content on these social media platforms, they're highly filtered and they can have a really negative impact on people's mental health.
I think if anything, I moved school when I was younger because I got bullied really badly. So I think this idea to just demonize social media in general is really outdated. I got bullied at school the same way that I'm sure if I was at school right now, I'd probably get cyberbullied online. Bullying is everywhere. We can't just blame it on this platform. If anything, I think it's a lazy way out. If anything, I think now we have social media. These kids that are perhaps feeling a little left out or a little outcast, they can now go home and they can find people like-minded. They can relate, they can build friendships, they can work on that. So I think the pros of social media far outweigh the cons. And I think, teenagers have always strived to be sought after or have attention. So this, this idea of comparison, it was always going to be there, whether, if it was in the 1950s and you would open up Vogue, now we have social media.
Ray,
so I think
the issue, of course, to counter that is that children go back into their bedrooms and they're on social media, and any, as you say, trolling continues right there in their room, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, there's no escape from it, because if you're being bullied at school, you're going to come home, go online, and even if you don't look, I guarantee you one of your friends will say, oh, do you know that they're talking about you on WhatsApp? Or do you know that there's something being said about you on Instagram? So you don't get a reprieve. You don't get home and get a reprieve from it.
But
So
I think there's also to say there's millions of, mental health resources that you can go onto to calm yourself down. If anything, loads of the polls say that kids are relieved the fact that they have
then why
somewhere
are suicides up so much for children? Suicides are 200% up for young children between 12 and 18. And it's all to do with social media, because their peers are pulling them to pieces.
I think it's very unfair to put a blanket ban on social media, especially because you've been a social media consultant for all these years, and now that it's got too big to just throw it out, I think is very unfair.
It needs to be controlled more.
Okay.
Susanna and I both quite enjoyed being cut out for a few hours last night. I'm definitely going to try a bit more of it, but it's hard. It's hard. Thanks both for joining
Ray
me.
and Talia, thanks very much indeed. Just to point out that Facebook's global head of security said that they dispute the premise Instagram harms teenagers, pointing to research. Teenagers have positive experiences, and that is true. I mean, we have to be very sensitive when we discuss, the impact that social media can have on children's mental health. But I wonder how many people did actually find it a relief yesterday from 5 until 11 that they weren't glued to the social media sites that they're normally addicted to. Facebook posted on Twitter to the huge community of people and businesses around the world who depend on us, we're sorry, we've been working hard to restore access to our apps and services and are happy to report they're coming back online now. Thank you for bearing with us.